What's good? What's good? It's the one and only, but what do I know? Boxing coming back at y'all with another one, man. So we got Terence Crawford in the news, man. So it's looking like I'm just gonna put this in the rumor section. I don't ever want to. If I'm not 100% sure, I'm gonna always say it's just a rumor that Terence Crawford may be retiring if he cannot get a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Terence Crawford is at the point of his career where, he just wants big fights, and I completely understand that. Canelo's at that point in his career where he just wants the big fights. Both Canelo and Crawford did some very great things in the sport of boxing or whatnot. I obviously, with Canelo, we all want the Benavidez fight, but it doesn't look like that's gonna ever happen. Doesn't knock Canelo's career at all. Canelo's still a certified Hall of Famer. But it looks like Crawford only wants to fight Canelo. If he doesn't get a fight with Canelo, I don't know if we get a Crawford fight, period. But let's go ahead and get into the article, and then I'll give you my opinion about everything that we just talked about. So, shout out to BoxingSocial.com. It says WBA super welterweight champion Terence Crawford is one of the greatest pound for pound fighters of this generation, and he has finally begun to receive the deserved recognition for his skills. Yet, despite now being at the peak of his superstardom in the sport, we may not see Bud step through the ropes again. Crawford made history when he became the first multi-divisional undisputed champion of the four-belt era, knocking out long-term rival Errol Spence in a career-defining clash for all four welterweight titles last year. Now, listen to that. Terence Crawford is the first multi-four division champion, the multi-male, because Clarissa Shields is the first in all, But I say that to say because you have these delusional fanboys that will tell you. I ain't even gonna say delusional fanboys because I've never seen any fans say it. But you got Teofimo and his delusional dad that will lie to you and say that they're the first two divisional undisputed champions when he's not even an undisputed champion. So that is like crazy to me. But anyways, that's why I just had to emphasize on that. But it says, since then, Bud has targeted further success by continuously calling out undisputed super middleweight champion Canelo Alvarez, who is fighting three weight classes higher, but to no avail. Instead, the Omaha sensation opted to move up to super welterweight and edge out a unanimous decision win against WBA title holder Israel Madrimov in his closest fight to date to become four-division world champion. Now, again, I didn't have that fight close at all. I don't care what people say. Like, I felt like Madrimov did not do anything to really just solidify any of those early, especially those early rounds. I think I had it 9 rounds to 3 or 8 rounds to 4 for Terence Crawford. I did not, you're talking to somebody that's very good at judging, who understands boxing. Madrimov, at the end of the day, Madrimov did not do enough to win any of those. Well, I ain't gonna say any, but a lot of those rounds. And I didn't have that fight close at all. But it says, now Crawford is continuing to demand a shot at Alvarez and hope to become a 3-way undisputed conqueror. He wouldn't it wouldn't be a 3-way because Canelo only has 3 of the belts now. But 3-way undisputed conqueror. But there is an understandably lack of interest in the contest from the Mexican for what could be only considered a lose-lose scenario. Saudi investor Turkey Al-Sheikh seemed keen on the idea at one point until Crawford's struggle with Madrimov damaged the value of the showdown. But the newfound catalyst of boxing still has the 37-year-old in his plans, proposing a scrap with highly rated super welterweight knockout artist Virgil Ortiz. However, Ortiz's trainer Robert Garcia told Fight Hype that he does not believe Crawford would accept the fight after speaking with ESPN 2014 and 2017 Fighter of the Year, adding that the switch hitting technician may never fight again. I've talked to him personally, and my feelings are that he wants the big fight against Canelo. If he doesn't get that fight, he may never fight again. He doesn't need anybody to push him to take a challenge that he doesn't need to prove, and that he doesn't need to prove anything anymore. Meanwhile, Alashik told the Stomping Ground a similar story, revealing that his beliefs that Crawford is only interested in Canelo Alvarez. I don't think Crawford will fight anyone except for Canelo. We would give him an offer to fight Virgil Ortiz, but I don't know if he'll take it or not. We have an agreement to do a big fight with Ortiz if Crawford. We have an agreement to do a big fight with Ortiz if Crawford does not take the fight. I don't think he will take it. I think he only wants Canelo. Should a lucrative Canelo proposal never manufacture, Crawford could still become a three-weight undisputed champion in his own weight class by taking on lanky unified title holder Sebastian Fundora, who has the WBC and WBO, and Baracom, whatever, can't pronounce his last name. The guy that just beat Tim Tszyu. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, I definitely am one to agree that, Bud has nothing to prove. I would like to see him fight, what's the name, the guy that just beat Tim Tszyu. I would like to see him fight Sebastian Fundora. I think that makes for an interesting matchup. But ultimately, Terence Crawford is at a point where, he has nothing to prove. A lot of people felt like he should have fought he should have fought Jaron Ennis, and I knew at that point it was no point of Terence Crawford fighting Jaron Ennis, because for one, Jaron Ennis is not a big name. He's not a, Terence Crawford just came off of the Errol Spence fight, right? And that was the most anticipated fight for that time, for at least the last 4 years. That was the most anticipated matchup, right? So with that being said, now he's undisputed at welterweight, and he already stressed that he's, starting to have a hard time making the weight. It's like anything else, it has to be something major to really enticing him. And Jaron Ennis doesn't do anything for that. If anything is moving backwards, with Terence Crawford moving up to fight Israel, because I hear some people want to say that Terence Crawford ducked Jaron Ennis to fight Israel Madrimov, and I just think that's the craziest thing ever. It's like, okay, what makes more sense, fighting this guy who is a great talent but doesn't have a big name at all, just to keep your titles that you don't even want at 147, or adding more to your legacy, and by moving up to another weight class, now you can say you're a 4-division world champion. I definitely feel like the Israel Madrimov situation makes perfect sense. Now the difference between, I'm gonna say this because you are gonna have some people that'll say, well, why do you feel like Crawford doesn't have to fight Jaron Ennis, but Canelo should have fought Benavidez? Well, the difference is simple. Crawford moved up. He stated he was moving up to 154 anyways, right? And not only is he moving up to 154, but he's getting a title. He's fighting for, at the time was fighting for a title in a weight class he had never competed in. That does more for his legacy. Terence Crawford fighting Israel Madrimov does more for his legacy than him fighting Jaron Ennis, and that's facts. Jaron Ennis offers nothing to Terence Crawford. And Madrimov, not only, Madrimov was a fighter in a new weight class, but he offered a title, a chance for Terence Crawford to be a 4-division world champion. So that's the difference. Whereas Canelo Alvarez, who at the time had all the belts, was still campaigning and competing at 168 pounds. It's not like he wasn't moving up. Now, if Canelo Alvarez would have been like, I'm gonna move up and get my rematch, get my revenge with Bivol, I've always stated that's a fight that I would definitely understand him taking instead of Benavidez. Completely understand that. Or if Canelo would have moved up to 175 to fight Beterbiev, at that point I would say, okay, no, he's not ducking Benavidez, because in my opinion, and this is just this, and again, my channel is so easy because I keep it consistent, but in my opinion, it's never considered a duck when you're fighting somebody who is either tougher than or equal to the threat that the person that they're claiming you're ducking, meaning with for example, just to break that down to you, if Canelo Alvarez moves up to fight Beterbiev, which we all would perceive as a bigger threat than Benavidez, you can't say he's ducking Benavidez, because he's fighting somebody more riskier. He's fighting a more dangerous opponent than Benavidez, right? Or better be, Bivol, who actually beat Canelo. So you know what I'm saying? Like those, I would completely understand that. Those are not, that wouldn't be a duck at all. But the fact is, Canelo Alvarez, instead of fighting Benavidez, while campaigning at 168 pounds and having all the titles, he chose to fight guys who did not deserve a fight over Benavidez. Guys like Jaime Munguia, who didn't even fight for a world title at 160, but all of a sudden moves up to 168 and for some reason gets a chance at a shot at undisputed. That didn't make any sense to me. Edgar Berlanga, I think everybody and their mama knows Edgar Berlanga didn't. Jaime Munguia deserved a shot more than Edgar Berlanga. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I say that to say Edgar Berlanga was just at the bottom of the list, but all these guys get a shot with Canelo Alvarez except for Benavidez. So that's the difference between Canelo Alvarez not fighting Benavidez against Terence Crawford not fighting Jaron Ennis. Now, as far as Terence Crawford calling out Canelo, I've never been for that. I don't think that's a good idea at all. You have some fans talking about Terence Crawford should fight. They say Terence Crawford should fight Teofimo Lopez, but here's how I debunk that, right? You guys didn't give Terence Crawford credit. I mean, bro, and you're talking to a guy that picked Errol Spence, right? I was picking Errol Spence. I was going for Errol Spence. I love both fighters. Been rocking with Bud since he had the dreads, fighting outside. But I was going for Errol Spence because, you know, I'd seen him in the amateurs as well. But anyways, you guys didn't give Terence Crawford credit for beating Errol Spence. So why in the world would he go back and fight a Teofimo Lopez just for him to knock him out, and then for y'all to not give him credit? Like, what credit? Y'all not gonna give him no credit for beating no Teofimo Lopez at all, because y'all don't even give him credit for beating Errol Spence, and this is a fight that we was asking for years now. So it makes absolutely no sense for him to fight Teofimo Lopez, but it makes absolutely no sense for him to be trying to call out Canelo Alvarez either. Canelo Alvarez is nothing for Canelo Alvarez to fight Terence Crawford, and I completely agree. I don't think that that's a duck at all. When people try to say that, like, Canelo, what does Canelo Alvarez get from fighting Terence Crawford? A smaller fighter. Canelo Alvarez is not going to get credit for that. You know, and it's moving up to it's the difference between moving from 135 to 147 than from moving to 154 to 168. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think that that's a smart move at all, and it's just no point. So, you know, if Terence Crawford retired, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame, and I definitely will do a video dedicating to Terence Crawford's career. But let's just keep our ears to the street, or keep our ears to the ropes, or to the rings, and see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. How do you feel about Terence Crawford possibly retiring? But what do I know?